Anyone? Gentleman with the cell phone in hand. For education. Okay. Anyone else? To educate yourself or someone else? The world. Okay, cool. The lady next to you? To help people. What kind of content do you do?
Well, I'm finding my feet now, but I'm kind of looking for like
spiritual content. Okay. So you create content to help people with spirituality. One more, please.
Focus on promoting the potentials of the Lord. So mine is promoting the potentials of the Lord.
Northern Ghana. No one said to make money.
To make money.
To make money. There we go. So I'm a corner of South Africa. Tammy is
the founder of Style ID Africa. We have an influencer marketing agency and technology platform. So we help our influencers monetize their business.
exactly.
So we connect influencers with the brands and assist influencers in getting the exposure.
So let's chat about what it actually means to be a content creator as far as Africa is concerned. So we've been watching content creators across the world. We see the Kendall Jenners and all the other big stars doing content, big YouTube stars, and they're making money out of it. But today our chat is really about how we're gonna use content creation as the new equalizer for Africans, right? So as you know, most of Africa was colonized, right? Are you with me?
Yeah.
Cool. And with the colonial powers, we had many of our natural resources dug out from under us. So gold, diamonds, palladium, all kinds of things were taken away from us. And that was problematic because it seemed like Africa was just a department store for the rest of the world to come and take what they want, right? They would come and take slave labor, gold, diamonds. The Queen of England's crown has a big diamond from Kimberley in South Africa. We were just giving up our natural resources and then they'd be sold back to us for all that money, right? So you have a beautiful ring on your finger, but we dug the gold out and we sent it to the US and it flew back and then we made you pay many, many cedi for it. Does that seem right?
No.
It shouldn't be that way, right? So we were seen to be people who just, all we had to give was our natural resources and our slave labor, but we do so much more than that, all right, as Africans. Chat to me about Dr. Christian Barnard. Do you know that the first heart transplant was done in Southern Africa? Right? Sure. Yeah. Do you know what a CAT scan is? It's an African creation. And many, many others. So what we offer to the world is more than just our natural resources. We offer so much more. Financial services, sciences, innovations, anthropology, archaeology, all those things are done in Africa. And so we're not just a place where you come and take things and walk away with them. So what makes a content different from any other content? So when you create content, and Tammy, you can chat to this about us, one of the major issues is authenticity, right? You're speaking to an audience about something that you're passionate about and they listen to you because they trust what you have to say, okay? Tammy, how important is it being authentic as a content creator?
It's one of the most important things to consider when creating content and staying true to your personal brand and what it is that you are passionate about and what you want to get across to your audience. And that is one of the key things that brands look for first when working with a content creator or influencer. And that is across all channels. So whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc. How true are you when promoting the brand, and how does the brand fit in with your personal lifestyle? So authenticity is one of the top criteria that a brand looks for.
And because you're being authentic, it means that your content will speak to your audience and your audience will understand and resonate with it. And because Africa has always been spoken about as being rich in diversity and heritage, our diversity and heritage is idiosyncratic. It is of the people we come from, and it speaks to the people we come from. I do lots of lifestyle and fashion. And when I get dressed up, I'm very aware of the South African counterparts that I'm speaking to, right? When you do your spirituality content, you're expecting the people who you're speaking to understand what you're saying, to resonate with that content. So brands then dial in to that authenticity because you can then speak your brand message to your audience, and that's how you monetize your platform. So because
Sorry, just on that,
sure.
Leroy, and I'm sure you, many of you notice when you're following an influencer or content creator and you see when something's just not part of who they are, or they're just doing it for the paid partnership and it's not a true representation of their personal brand. So, and I'm sure you can pick that up straight away when you're following someone. So people need to be very cognizant and very strategic when working with the brand and how that's going to fit into their lifestyle.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, on the African continent, many of our resources have been taken over, even in the content creation space, and tried to limit. Do any of you know the song Who Run the World Goes by Beyonce? You know the song, right?
Yeah.
There's a part where she dances, and it looks very much like a South African dance called Bansura. Alright? Are you with me? So you don't know the dance? I won't try and do it. But it involves a very quick movement of the feet. And she does it very well, but unfortunately it doesn't land because it's not from South Africa. It's not a South African who's doing it, so it doesn't look like we intended to look. Alright? So even though big popular parties can take our stuff and repurpose it, it just doesn't land as well. Do you guys know the content creator Elsa Majimbo? Do you know her? Yeah, so she's now big in the US, right? But she started off her content chatting about things that were important to her, right? There's one particular video where she's chatting about how expensive iPhones are. How many of y'all know iPhones are expensive? The 15 Pro Max, crazy, $2,000 plus, right? Right? It's crazy. And she was chatting about how being on an iPhone user, you're constantly paying for something. You're paying for data, you're paying for the apps, you're paying for subscriptions, you're paying for space, right? And all of that is something that we all chat about, but it resonates with us because here on our continent, we know what it feels like to pay for data. We know how hard it is to get into Wi-Fi zones and things like that. And people are resonating with her content so much that now she's a millionaire living in LA. Because she was able to resonate with her public and the public is resonating with her. So what changed? What's made Africa this new content creation diaspora hotspot? What has changed to make us part of the global community when it comes to content? Any takers?
I'll start. Culture.
Culture. So we've been more comfortable with our culture. We have a bigger culture. We've been more proud of our culture.
Absolutely.
Let's chat about how much data costs. Data costs have gone down significantly, and the penetration of internet in Africa means that we're now able to create content and send it out into the world. My colleague over here was chatting about how much money he makes on YouTube, but also how much money you spend on data, and that cost has significantly dropped over the years because we now have a bigger penetration of the internet. Let's chat about things like your tech, right? It's easier to get cameras, cell phones, and the like in Africa now because of the globalization of the world. So the changes have been such that with globalization and the advent of influencer marketing, things have become easier for us to do. Now Tammy, influencers.
Yes.
Initially, we would have big brands who put together big campaigns, and when they do put together campaigns, at the end of the campaign, they'll get 3 or 4 influencers. What has changed in the marketing landscape that influencers have now become front and center?
Well, the industry itself, does anyone know, sorry to start, how much the influencer industry is worth?
In USD. Billions. How many billions? That's a little more than we expected.
We get it.
Close.
Do you want to tell the audience?
So last year it was close to 17 billion, and as of 2024 January, it's projected to be $24 billion. brands are spending an average of $30 billion paying influencers.
So why I asked that question is this just shows you the investment that brands are putting toward influencer marketing as an industry. It's no longer seen as a nice to have or just an add-on to their marketing channels. It's actually become a crucial aspect of marketing to their customers, and that goes back to the authenticity topic. So it's a vital part of the marketing mix. You were talking about above the line TV, advertising, etc. Completely moving away from that drastically and focusing on content creators and influencers to advertise products.
And why does that happen, right? So television, how many of you have watched terrestrial live TV? Like if you're not watching sport or watching the news, when are you watching TV like in real time? Like if your show goes on at 7 o'clock, you're in front of your TV at 7 o'clock. Right? Hands? Who watches pre-recorded stuff? So do you record stuff later and then watch it later? Okay, are you streaming anything? YouTube, Netflix? Okay. Are we downloading videos and playing them later? Yes, right. So you can imagine when you spend money putting an ad together, in between ads on live television, no one's watching it, you're literally putting money down the drain, right? And from a reporting point of view, you don't know actually how many people have seen that. But with your YouTube content, your Instagram, your Facebook, we literally can pull out analytics and say, these many eyes were laid on this. So instantaneously, and the cell phone has become the first screen that people use. So no longer do we go to the television for information. When I ask you for information, if you're looking for something, the first thing you do is pull up your cell phone. How many people do you know, how many of us know someone who has more than one phone? Like have 2 phones, 3 phones, right? There are more cell phones in Africa than there are people. I'm serious, there are 1.5 more people, more cell phones than people. So each of us are carrying a cell phone and a half. I don't know what you're doing with the half, but here we are. And because that becomes our first screen, it means that marketing from a social media point of view with our influencers has become the primary way that businesses are able to interface with audiences for authenticity, but also to make sure that they can get the ROI, the return on investment, and be able to report back to their stakeholders about exactly how much impact they're making. So, where to next? How do we get influencers to start making the money?
So, how many of you know about the different tiers of influencers? Do you know that there's different tiers? Yes.
Yes. Please say it out loud, ma'am. Yes.
So start with your nano influencers, which is your 1,000 to 10,000 followers, and this is generally across platforms. So your 1,000 to 10,000 followers is your nano influencers. Your 10,000 to 50,000 is your micro low influencers. 50,000 to 100,000 is your micro high, and then you start getting into your macro mega celebrities. And it does not matter what sort of following you have. Brands want to work with you. So it shouldn't be just instant thought, well, I've only got 5,000 followers, brands are not going to work with me, I need to just grow my followers. And especially how the industry has transformed, that yes, brands were initially working with celebrities and more of the macro, massive guys with lots of followers, but now we see that the engagement and the return on investment for brands is coming from the smaller guys. So it doesn't matter about your followers, it's about how you engage with your followers. Are you interacting with your followers? And the more you interact with your followers, the more you're going to get their interaction so that you're able to provide the results when it comes to brand campaigns. So it really doesn't matter on the following, it matters on your niche and what you are focusing on, because you cannot be everything to everyone. We had a very interesting chat yesterday in the masterclass in terms of niches, and to give you an example, Leroy, I think you should explain, but in terms of, there's a very big difference between posting your niche on social media and what you are passionate about in your general life. So Leroy, as an example, loves cooking, but I think you can explain more and why you chose your niches on your platforms.
So how I started off into the content creation space was when Instagram was really relatively new. I used to just post what I was wearing to the office, right? My tie, my suit, and I thought it looked really snazzy. Instagram didn't believe I looked snazzy, so it was a bit of a hit and miss. But what happened was more and more brands were getting closer to me because of the fashion element. I literally fell into fashion. I wasn't intending to have fashion as part of my niche of sweets. But when I started looking at the things that were very interesting to me and what I wanted to content create about, I started looking at the things that really resonated with me. So as Tammy says, I love cooking, but I don't actually want to do cooking content. It's a very different world altogether. Home chefs and momfluencers do that much better. I like travel, I like fitness, I like lifestyle, I like fashion. And when I did my work on BET,
And automotive.
And automotive, I love cars. And when I did my work in BET, I used to cover fashion events, red carpets, and that created enough of an audience for me to be able to service them. Because that's what you're doing. You're in the service industry. You're servicing your audience with what you think is interesting, and linking them up with information, knowledge, as you say, to grow that knowledge bank. Interestingly, Tammy, when you create those niches, you need to be so hyper-aware that they don't make you seem schizophrenic, right? How many of you know people who've got like Instagram profiles or YouTube content that's just like up and down? Like one day they're at the red carpet and the other day they're teaching you how to like fix a... Is it you? Are you confessing? Oh, you know someone? Oh yeah.
I know she's...
What it does is that it confuses you as a content creator, and as a result, remember, as a content creator, you're a key opinion leader, right? You lead an opinion on a particular niche. You can't be a key opinion leader for everything. Are you with me? Are you with me? Yeah. 7,000 kilometers, guys. That you're not able to service them properly. What happens is that your audience will scatter. They'll go to people who they're able to go to. In your mind, when you think about a content creator where you want to learn about how to make something to eat tonight, girl dinner, you've got 3 people to go to. Let's search what they're having today. Leroy is wearing a particular male designer. I want to get an outfit for my wedding. Let's go check him out. I'm feeling a bit low. I need a sermon to put together for the weekend when I'm going to church. I'm going to your page, right? So you need to find those places so that you can be a key opinion leader.
It's really, really important.
It's so vital.
You can't be everything. And that is in business as well. You know, there's so many agencies that would, sorry, and I'm jumping around here, but there's agencies and businesses that just want to do everything, but rather do something good and well and the best. Hence, while we specialize in influencer marketing, that is our niche as a business. Yes, there's add-ons, but influencer marketing is at the core, and the same should apply from a content creation point of view and content creators.
On that point, so we're talking about following, right?
Yeah.
And your mega, nano, micro influencers. Chat to me about, on a practical level, what uses we have for the different tiers. Tammy has a new business coming up. She wants to work with influencers. What kind of impact will a nano influencer have versus their mega influencer?
So, because there's different tiers, the different tiers offer different return on investment, should I say. So if you're working with nano influencers, the nano influencers will get you, as I mentioned, that engagement. So as a brand, you want them to promote, speak about the product, speak about the price, the promotion, the store to go to, etc. When you're working with the macro influencers, they are your aspirational influencers.
Exactly.
So that's the day in the life of vlogs and the aspirational type of content that doesn't necessarily say, well, this is the product and this is the price and this is where I'm going to get it. So it's more of the aspirational. So it's very important to understand the different tiers and the different types of content. This is more on the brand side, so when you're working with an influencer. and to understand what you should be getting from the different tiers
Yeah.
in terms of content.
And as an influencer, then you need to make sure that you're servicing those brands at that level. So you've got 5,000 followers. You are not going to be telling me about the product and not telling me information about the product. I need you to tell me where to find it, what store to go and find it, how much it costs, how do I wear it, how do I use it. So for instance, let's say we're doing a straightening iron, right? Something for your hair. I need to know how different is it to the competitor, what you find good about it, where can I get it, where are there discounts, where is it cheaper. Whereas when you're higher up in the numbers scale, you don't need to tell me how to use it, where to get it, where the promotion code is. You're telling more about the brand and the lifestyle. So if you use Coca-Cola, for instance, I always say, Coca-Cola doesn't even tell you how much the bottle costs, right? You see Coca-Cola, it's Coca-Cola, it's great, the brand is big. But if I'm coming to you as a small brand and I want people to engage with my content and drive sales, I'm going to give it to you who has 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 followers, because higher engagement rate means more people are seeing it. So of your 5,000, if we're doing 20%, 1,000 people are seeing it. And chances are of that 1,000, they will go to the store and they will buy it. So they need the information, where to get it, where to buy it. But when you're sitting at 70,000, 100,000 followers, you don't need to give me that much information, because you need to make it seem as a lifestyle. You almost need to have it around, more aesthetic, which also goes to platforming, right? Which platforms do you then work in? So YouTube is very long form, so it means you can do reviews, get ready with me's, tutorials, which is very different from, say, an Instagram and a TikTok.
Absolutely.
Where it's quick and to the money. So I don't know if it's landing, but it's really important to know, even when you have your numbers, what your purpose is. And then as your numbers grow, you can then transition from being micro to mega influencer.
Have any of you worked with brands? Have had brand partnerships?
You go on here.
And did you face any challenges? How was the experience? What was the brand that you had worked on?
Personal finance for me.
Yeah, I do personal finance for women. I'm from New York. And so, thank you. And so what I built a brand around authenticity and healing your relationship with money, instead of just going straight to making millions of dollars or how do you do a budget. And so they look for that in terms of how they partner with me. I think the only challenge has been getting paid on time and changing the terms of a payment.
What was the, so was it educational content you were putting up?
They wanted like a story about retirement, like how can people like in their 40s begin thinking about retirement, and they wanted my story.
Okay.
The whole point that your functionality is to express a story. So at your level, you have to talk about the nitty-gritty, actual technical parts of it, right? There's a similar content creator in South Africa called Nicolette Mashile, where she went and bought a house when she was quite young and got herself into ridiculous debt. And she spent the better part of her 30s trying to get out of it. And that resonated with her so much that she's now become what we call the financial bunny, where she's chatting around interest rates, how to buy property, etc., which is not legal financial advice in the sense that it's not a financial advisor, but it's tools that make sense for a black woman who's living in that area. And this is the whole point, right? Why we asked the question when we started, why do you create content? Because it has to be something bigger than yourself. You can't create content for creating content's sake. It'll bore you, it will become annoying, and it just becomes financially unviable.
What's the average amount of time that you spend creating content?
Yeah. A week.
A week?
That is a lot. Per week, yeah, per week. An hour, 5 hours. Pretty much. 1 hour, 5 hours, 10 hours.
At the end of the day, you want to be valued for the content that you are creating.
Yeah.
And is it something that you want to move full time into doing and being a content creator? And there's a lot of investment that needs to happen, but you want to see the value, you want to start monetizing and getting rewarded for the content that you're creating. If you're spending so much time creating the content, you as a content creator need to see your return on investment and getting booked by brands. So I think ultimately that's what Style ID does in terms of getting our content creators recognized and booked, not just in South Africa, let me emphasize that. We are across Africa, and hence why we're here today as well. So it's for any African content creator, and ultimately you want to be valued for the content and the time that you're putting in and the effort that you're putting in.
I think to wrap it up, I think Africa is a right place right now where everything is right for us to be able to make this into businesses, to make money out of the content creator space. But because our stories are so authentic and so culturally diverse and rich, we have a leg up on the rest of the global north and everywhere else because we've got that content. We have 1.5 billion people on the continent. If we all just watch each other's content, we're able to monetize it to a ridiculous level. So I think in wrapping up, we thank you for listening to us today, but more importantly, when you create good content, make sure it represents where you come from and represents the people that you want to speak to, and it's always authentic. Thank you.